What would you do if you suddenly found yourself in a rivalry so fierce that it could change the fate of an entire sport and even your own life? Well, imagine being at the epicenter of a feud between two of the most famous men in bodybuilding. I'm talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mike Mentzer, two titans of bodybuilding whose lives crossed paths in ways no one expected. However, an incident on the stage of the 1900 Mr. Olympia altered the career for one of them. But what really sparked this storm, and how did it affect one of the most brilliant men of the time? Welcome to the bodybuilding world, and it's the hidden truth behind the passing of Mike Mentzer. Let's get started. For many, bodybuilding is just about muscles, weights, and technique. But for Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mike Mentzer, it's perfection. While Arnold represented the classic discipline of bodybuilding, Mentzer defended his intensive training method, which was revolutionary for its time. However, it was at the Mr. Olympia in 1980 that their paths crossed, with a result that would change their lives forever. And yes, Schwarzenegger took the victory that time, while Mentzer took a consolation prize. And what came next is a story of resentment and, perhaps, a hidden lesson about the importance of mental health in sports. But who was Mike Mentzer really? Here we go. Mike Mentzer was born in 1951 in Erie, Pennsylvania. From a young age, his interest in bodybuilding was always evident, and that took him to the next level, letting his career begin in 1971, thus joining the competition in Mr. America, and that is how he quickly gained recognition from many for the incredible muscles he had developed. When he turned 23, he managed to become the Mr. Universe champion. His golden age began in 1979 at his first Mr. Olympia, when the weight division system was implemented for the first time in Mr. Olympia. Mike Mentzer competed in the heavyweight category, presenting one of the best physiques of his career. With his impressive musculature, symmetry, and definition, Mentzer managed to obtain a perfect score of 300 points, winning the heavyweight category. However, in the general competition, where the winners of each division faced each other to decide the absolute champion, he lost to the champion Frank Zane, who had a more proportionate and aesthetic physique according to the judges. The following year, in 1980, one of the most controversial editions in the history of Mr. Olympia took place. This event marked the unexpected return of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who had been retired since 1975. His participation was announced days before the competition, generating tensions and speculations among the competitors, including Mentzer. Mentzer arrived in Sydney in even more massive physical shape than in 1979, with exceptional muscle development and a well-balanced physique. Before going on stage, Arnold and Mike had a heated argument. During this session, Arnold, known for his ability to play on the psychology of his rivals, made a mocking comment directed at the competitors. Arnold allegedly suggested that the competition would be an easy game for him, which deeply irritated Mentzer. At one point, Mentzer and Arnold had a heated argument, as we see in the image. According to witnesses, Arnold made a critical comment about Mentzer's physique, and Mentzer responded in a direct and aggressive manner, which escalated the situation. Both exchanged insults, and Mentzer, known for his hot temper, even physically threatened Arnold. However, the situation did not escalate thanks to the intervention of other competitors and organizers. At the time of the competition, the final results were extremely questioned. Arnold Schwarzenegger won the title, despite many considering him to be out of form, while Mentzer finished a controversial fourth. Many, including Mentzer, considered that Arnold had won due to his influence and not his physical condition, which was visibly inferior to that of other competitors. The controversy of this edition led to Mentzer retiring from competitive bodybuilding immediately after Mr. Olympia, deeply unhappy with the judging system. Mentzer, like many other competitors, was deeply disappointed with the result. to the point of deciding never to compete again. The controversy of that event, in which Arnold Schwarzenegger was declared the winner despite criticism of his physical form, led Mentzer to retire from professional bodybuilding at the age of 29. One thing that should be noted about him is that what managed to separate him from what other colleagues of his time did was the approach he used to his training. For Mentzer, his work philosophy when training was called heavy duty, which consists of the high-intensity training method that contrasts with workouts that are longer and more conventional in profile. That is, the workout was minimized, but with an increase in the workload. And for what purpose? With the idea that the body only needs enough to stimulate muscle growth, without overloading with exercise. Did it work? Well, this method made him an incredible pioneer within the world of bodybuilding for its scientific approach. Mentzer was an objectivist and insisted that philosophy and bodybuilding are one and the same, stating that man is an indivisible entity, an integrated unit of mind and body. Therefore, his books deal equally with philosophy and bodybuilding. Yes, Mentzer, he also published books. He followed the bodybuilding concepts developed by Arthur Jones and strove to perfect them. Through years of study, observation, knowledge of stress physiology, the most up-to-date scientific information available, and careful use of his reasoning skills, Mentzer successfully devised and implemented his own bodybuilding theory. Mentzer's theories are intended to help a drug-free person reach his or her maximum genetic potential in the shortest amount of time. High-intensity training. Mike Mentzer's style was Mentzer's final work. In it, he detailed the principles of high-intensity weight training. Weight training, he insisted, had to be short, infrequent, and intense to achieve the best results in the shortest amount of time. Heavy Duty 2 also advocates critical thinking. In this book, Mentzer shows why people need to use their reasoning ability to live happy, mature adult lives and shows readers how to do so. Bodybuilding was endorsed as only one potential component of an individual's existence, with many other worthwhile activities encouraged throughout his books. Heavy Duty was and remains criticized due to its low volume of exercises, something that stands in stark contrast to the Viter method. Many people judge the Heavy Duty method as inefficient for natural people, thus not being good for hypertrophy. However, there are several proponents who claim that it is effective due to the high stress placed on the musculature, increasing strength and muscle gains. And while there was success in his career, his health was greatly affected in the years afterward. For years, Mentzer experienced a series of conditions that affected his performance and his general well-being. Thus, in the late 1970s, he began to suffer from intense pain in his kidneys and other physical problems that soon became chronic. One of the strongest diagnoses was kidney failure. This health problem progressively worsened, leading him to a life of constant medical treatment. Mentzer also struggled with bouts of depression and anxiety, exacerbated by the physical and emotional stress of his extreme training, which took a toll on his health. His intensive and rigid approach to training was part of what led him to suffer from these conditions. But it also reflected his competitive nature and constant desire for perfection. In addition, it is speculated that the use of steroids in bodybuilding at that time may have played a major role in his health problems. Although there is no conclusive evidence that Mentzer used substances excessively, the bodybuilding environment at the time was heavily influenced by the use of these products. These physical and psychological problems eventually culminated in his untimely death in 1991. Mike Mentzer's death on June 10, 2001, shocked the bodybuilding community and left a significant void in the fitness world. Mentzer passed away at the age of 49 at his home in California. He was found dead in his apartment due to heart complications by his younger brother and fellow bodybuilder, Ray Mentzer. 2 days later, Ray died from complications of his long battle with Buerger's disease. The official cause of his death was kidney failure. a condition he had been battling for several years due to chronic health issues that were reportedly exacerbated by his use of anabolic steroids. Throughout his life, Mentzer experienced complications related to his kidneys, which worsened in his later years. The use of anabolic steroids in bodybuilding has been a controversial topic for decades, and Mike Mentzer was not exempt from this practice. During the golden era of bodybuilding, steroid use was common among athletes seeking to improve their performance and physical appearance. Although there is no definitive proof that Mentzer used steroids in excessive quantities, it is known that the bodybuilding environment at the time was greatly influenced by the use of these compounds. The pressure to maintain an elite physique and achieve extreme levels of muscle mass likely contributed to many athletes' decision to turn to these products. Anabolic steroids increase muscle mass and strength by mimicking the action of testosterone, but they also carry serious health risks. Side effects include liver, heart, and kidney problems, and in Mentzer's case, it appears that their use contributed to the kidney failure problems that ultimately led to his death. In addition, steroids can negatively affect mental state, causing mood swings, aggression, and in some cases, depression, as was the case with Mentzer. During his later years, his mental and emotional health was marked by anxiety and depression, and many believe that these disorders were influenced by his steroid use in combination with his grueling training regimen. Some in the bodybuilding community believe that Mentzer should have won the 1980 Mr. Olympia. In the late 1980s, Mentzer returned to training bodybuilders and writing for Iron Man magazine, and spent much of the 1990s regaining his stature in the bodybuilding industry. Mentzer met Dorian Yates in the 1980s and made a mark on Dorian's bodybuilding career. Years later, when Yates won Joe Weider's Mr. Olympia, he attributed his training to Mike's heavy-duty principles. What do you think about the life and death of Mike Mentzer? Do you think his training philosophy really revolutionized bodybuilding, or were his methods a reflection of the risks of this industry? Leave us your comments. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to Bodybuilding World for more fascinating content about the world of fitness and bodybuilding. See you in the next video.